day, good people. This is Dr. Heather Hetteru with you today. I'm feeling amazing today, and I think that is a thing. It is a vibration that is sweeping through a lot of people today. So it could be because of the sunshine. It could be because we're on a 9/9 date. It could be on for lots of other reasons, but whatever the reason, I'm glad you're here today. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad my producer is here, Chantel, who we're going to have a little bit of a conversation before we really get started, but it's part of the conversation I wanted to have today. Today, our conversation is what I want you to know. And my thought was, as I was preparing for our lesson for the journey today, if I never had an opportunity to share another message with you, what would I want you to take away today? And so I put down for me like the top 5 things that I would want you to know in preparation for your journey. And as you take this new next step in the information that I'm sharing with you, that you'll be a part of it. And so our opening conversation really was about having an altar. And so Chantel is going to dialogue with me a little bit around this altar conversation. And we were talking about our experiences. And so, you know, I've been around a little bit. I've been around a little bit, and I've been on this journey for some time.
All wisdom.
Thank you. Trust me, it's earned, and it is a collection of what I'm trying to offer to you that was offered to me over my journey. So we were talking about kind of the purpose of an altar. And so you may be in that energy that's pushing you toward an altar. And I just want to talk about the 2 that I use. So the 2 types of altars that I use, one is my ancestor altar, and the second one is my purpose-driven altar. So it's kind of where I take my ideas, where I keep my sacred tools and things that I use to bring me to my center, or things that I want to think about, pray over, empower, including empower myself. So it's very interesting because I've had multiple altars over my journey, and each one is different. Each one has a different purpose. Each one is set up different. I have not had one altar that has been the same, whether it was my ancestor altar or my sacred altar. None have been the same.
So do they change over time, or do you just find one that maybe works for you the best?
You know what? It emerges.
Okay.
It emerges from the things that call out to you. And that's why I really want to have this conversation. I want to start just by letting everybody know that thing that you feel that you can't really put your finger on that why, or why you feel a certain way. Like we were talking about how this vibration of good energy is flowing this morning, right? It's that something that you can exactly put your finger on where it's coming from or your why, but the exciting part is that it's happening and you are aware. So in the age that we're in is the age of Aquarius. It is a lot about awareness. So our awareness about what's happening around us and tuning in that you know, even though you may not know what you know. Right? You don't know what that thing is that you feel, or that feeling is, or where it's coming from. It's part of the elevation of the age that we're in. And so a desire to have an altar, to have that sacred space, to explore deeper realms of understanding. A lot of people right now are using mushrooms for that experience. It's kind of the drive to it, because I just want to say, and this is no disrespect for people who use mushrooms as a tool, but you are all you need. You are all you need. Your experiences and all of those things are locked up in you. What I don't want you to do is to become dependent on another source outside of you. So I just had to say that, because I think people need to know, because a lot of people are in this mindset, just like with your altar. You may see the trend that people are more excited about their altar and talking about it, but understand that underneath that flow, that current that we're feeling, is the new age that we have come into. And it shows up in different ways. It shows up with your curiosity. It shows up with your commitment to doing something new, or learning something about you, or exploring you. So all of those things, including, I mentioned the mushrooms, including that as a tool, is a part of this process. It's about exploration, but not causing harm to what the tools that you've already been given. Like our bodies, it's a tool. It's a tool. What is occupying this tool is our spirit, right? And our soul and what the substances that we're made of. And so as we get into this conversation about the altars and the different types of altars, I want you to keep that in mind, that there is a current, an undercurrent with all of us, within all of us, that is driving us into this space of self-exploration. And it's important to know that you're in good timing. It's important to know that this is really a vibration and an energy that is sweeping humanity, not just you, but a lot of people. And so from that curiosity, it can turn you up in some spaces, and we tend to follow trends. And as we're following the trends, we have to make sure that we're rooted and grounded in a strong belief system. And I'm not saying that that is someplace you have to stay, but you can explore. Explore. That's what we're here for. We are creators. We are co-creators in this existence. And so be mindful about the things that you're creating in the world. And your altar is designed to help you to do that, to stay mindful in what you're bringing into the world, including your thoughts. So anything particular you want to know about a particular type of altar?
So I know different people have different layouts of an altar. Does it vary for each person? Do you feel like maybe it's one particular way that you should start? And then I know you said it emerges. Just I guess how to get started with it. I know you were saying that kind of tapping within is all you need. So it's maybe crystals, incense, things like that to try to help you better connect,
So the bigger question for you is, what are you hearing? So your tools are going to speak to you. I was just sharing with Chantel that I have a new co-partner and tools in my uses of my tools, but it is listen for what is being told to you. Your altar may be, it needs to be close to the floor. And so the materials that you may already have at home may already be the materials that you need for your altar. So, for example, have you ever seen the racks that go over a sink? I had a wooden rack that I used in my kitchen. I put my washcloths up there, my dishcloths, and my liquid soap up there, right? And I was in the kitchen washing my dishes, and Spirit said, "Use this for your altar." So imagine it's wide enough, maybe it's 2 feet. It's wide enough to go over your sink. So, and it wasn't very deep. It was maybe 6 inches deep and maybe about 12, 24 inches or 18 inches wide. Okay. And I used that, and it was close to the floor, and I put it in a corner, and that was my altar. Okay. And so it didn't all unfold at the same time. So first that was the thing, and I was like, okay, shouldn't it be like more formal? Shouldn't it? Yeah. But over time, and this is like over a period of a couple of days, couple of weeks, what needed to go on the altar was given to me. And then, I had a friend that for my birthday gave me all these different types of incense. So that added to it. It was a sale on candles. Like I found 100 pack of tea light candles at Kroger for $1.99.
Oh, you can't beat that.
Right. So
100?
It was 100 tea light candles. And so, I mean, those things, I wasn't necessarily looking for those things, but those things were gifted to me. And so I started to take advantage of that. So if I already had crystals or rocks or stones, because for me, I'm a mineral, so I need mineral energy. So I know that the rocks and, all those types of things, even tree fossils. So pieces of branches of a tree, if it spoke to me, I put it on there because I have a connection with trees.
Nature.
Right.
Yeah.
for me, that was a key piece that would go on
Even
my
from
altar.
when you were younger, you had
Exactly. Right. So my connection with trees.
Yes.
Right. So I know that that's something that's sacred to me and it speaks to me. So that's something that was on my altar. And it was just walking down the street. It could have been leaves. It could have been branches. It really didn't matter if it spoke to
Anything
me.
that resonated.
Right. So that's really what you want to be in tune with. Not just what somebody else may have, but what resonates with you.
And that's why you said emerges, because over time it grows, because different things are brought into you, exposed. Okay, so it grows.
It grows. It does.
There's no real right way to start it.
No, and so a lot of people use candles on their candles or incense, and different types of incense. And I had at one point I had an oil burner.
Okay.
Where, it melts on the top and then you have the tea light. At one point that was on my altar. And at one point it was no longer on my altar. Whatever purpose it served for that time, it served that purpose. And now it went on to something else.
Okay.
And so I had to be okay with releasing. Letting it go. Because you can hold it and hold it too long.
That's true. That's important. I feel like that's a big life lesson that we don't, really pay attention to.
Right. And because we're in the midst of seasons and cycles, we have to allow ourselves to go through the seasons and the cycles, because we can't elevate. Because remember, as we elevate, we don't stay on one plane. You elevate up. You elevate up. So if you're exactly. So you're learning as you grow, but those things often cycle back. And you have the tools and the answers to answer whatever that cycle is now. You're equipped with something that you need to help you elevate. Whatever is in that space for you to learn and to take with you, you take that and then you discard the things that no longer serve you. And that includes our altar. That includes our altar. And the understanding that nothing happens by coincidence. This is really an important lesson that I want you to leave with. Nothing happens by coincidence. But I also want you to look even deeper to see whatever it is that is resonating with you. If you created that, if you were co-creative in that, whatever the opportunity was, were you co-creating whatever the situation was? Were you co-creating it? And so what I mean by that is, were you hoping, wishing, praying, affirming that certain things show up in your path or in your life? If you were looking for, and we have also, because nothing happens by coincidence, you have to be mindful with if and when you have spoken some things into existence. Like you can say, I don't want to work today. I'm going to go to the park. And by chance, you are driving and heaven forbid you get a flat tire.
Yeah.
But it stops right by the park. You wanted to go to the park today. You didn't want to go to work. So now you have to wait for somebody to come, either tow your car, help get your tire fixed. All the while you're sitting there at the park.
Exactly. It's what you wanted. It's not what you capacity.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily happen the way we want things to happen. So we have to be mindful of that too. So when we think things are happening by coincidence, I was just thinking about going to the park. Yeah, you just spoke that into existence. Yeah. Because once it came from your thoughts and it came into your words, you said it out loud, and then the actions support that. So it's a beautiful co-creating process, and some people are creating all the time and don't realize they are. So it's not by coincidence. You might want to pause and reflect to see if it's something that you actually created in this world, the experience even that you created in this world.
Nice.
And so another insight that I wanted to share with you that I think is really awesome, and you can look this up too, because I wasn't able to print them all out, but I want you to look up the virtues of Ma'at. And Ma'at is spelled M-A-A-T. The virtues of Ma'at. So there are 10 virtues, and the virtues are really pointing out. Well, let me first explain what a virtue is. A virtue has to be taught. It's not something that you're born with. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. It is how you should conduct yourself. And so I'll tell you a few of the virtues that I thought were really important to know. And this is part of a saying that I'm sure a lot of people have heard. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Mm-hmm. That's one of the virtues of Ma'at, is that you're able to recognize the teacher when a teacher shows up. But your teacher can show up in a child. It can show up in the river. It can show up in a newspaper. It can show up in a book. It can show up in a movie. It could show up. I don't want to even use a TikTok, but I'm just saying it can show up. But that is the teacher showing up when the student is ready. So when you have that aha moment, when you have that feeling that I'm supposed to be here, I was supposed to get this information, I was supposed to know that, I was supposed to have that experience, that's also your teacher showing up. So I think it's important that people know that virtue has to be taught. It's not something you're born with. It's something you grow into. It's part of your journey of self-exploration. It's part of your becoming. So in this season, when you are looking at what am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to know? You know, what is this journey really about? I'm going to ask you, at some point in your journey, you need to understand what those virtues of Ma'at are. It's really important. I'm not just talking about the principles of Ma'at, because those are also important. But if you know the virtues first, the principles will make more sense to you. And the other set of tools that I use is the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit. So you can look that up you can look that up in your Bible index. The fruit of the Spirit is another set of tools that can prepare you for your life's journey. And it helps you to be able to understand and navigate the self-work, the inner work that is required of us. As we're talking about being and becoming and being an impact and making a difference in the world, these are some tools that you need to know. This is the self-work. This is the thing that helps you release the fetters that hold you back and who you're supposed to be and the things that you need to know and learn about yourself, because it helps you to, as you're taking in that information, it helps you to eliminate those things that no longer serve you, because you're replacing it with something that is much more substantial. And so it doesn't mean that you don't go through your process. What it means is that you become more of who you're supposed to be in your destiny and your life journey when you analyze, apply, and use these tools. So I wanted to make sure that that is another thing that you know. So the first thing is, I want you to know that the age that we're in is prompting this underlying current of us wanting to be better, us wanting to know more, us wanting to expand who we are. So that's the first thing, this undercurrent of the age of Aquarius. And you can look all of these things up. And I hope that you do, so that you can start pulling all the pieces together. And then the second thing we talked about is the altar and how you use your sacred space, but also how you're listening to construct it or co-create it, right, with spirit. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping an open mind and that we are listening for things that resonate with us. Right. And not just following trends and not just following things that people are talking about that sound trendy or are popular. Your journey is within you. So all of this information is scattered out in the ether, right? It's scattered out in all of these different energy fields that we're crossing over every day. So your goal is to pick those things out, explore, but cause no harm. That means no harm to you and no harm to others, because your body is on loan to you. We forget that. We say, no, this is mine. It's not. It's on loan. What's you is inside of it, right? Because once our energy, our life force is no longer in this body, it goes back to the dust. It goes back to where it came from. And so be mindful of that. Be careful with that. So cause no harm to yourself, for the body, the temple that we are residing in, and cause no harm to others as you take this journey. And then the next thing is to make sure that you start to study, apply the virtues of Ma'at, because your teacher will show you. Your teacher will come to show you what virtue really is. And then second to that is the fruit of the Spirit, right? Okay, so I hope you guys have all of that. That was the first of my what I want you to know.
I have a question. Do you feel like more younger people are becoming more spiritual or really trying to understand and do a deeper dive now than maybe what you saw before?
So part of the undercurrent of that, we talked about the age of Aquarius, but there's also an emergence of a new type of energy. And so it's been in motion for a while, but it's specific to generations. So it's two different types of energy right now that is in our world. One is called the indigo. The other one is called the crystal. So it's the indigo children and the crystal children. The indigo children are the warriors. When you see young people standing up for their rights, for standing up for a cause, and it doesn't matter race, color, creed, they're coming together because they are of like mind. So that is a whole generation of indigo children. And their goal is about changing the world systems that no longer serve us. And they are not about division. They are about unity. And that's why you see them coming together in groups. That is where gangs come from. This new type of gang.
Yeah.
They're tearing down systems, but they don't understand the systems that they're really trying to fight. They're gathering together in groups. That's why you see a lot of group violence.
Yeah.
Right. And because they've taken that energy around what family is, what loyalty is, and the systems that are working against them, they think it's each other. They think it's people that are after them. They think it's, this rivalry. It's not that, it's the energy. And they are using violence in the wrong spaces. They're supposed to be changing systems, not destroying one another. And they haven't gotten to that point yet, because the indigos, they are supposed to kill off old systems,
So
not people.
break those.
Right. They're supposed to break it, but they haven't been guided enough to understand what they're really fighting. And so the crystal children are the children who bring this new level of love in the world. While you have babies who are 2 days and 3 days old sitting up looking around.
Yeah.
When you're talking to them and they're understanding, they're so aware.
Yes.
That's one of the indicators of them being a crystal child.
Wow.
Yeah, so they have a whole new level of love that they are bringing in the world. And so they're very, very sensitive because they're coming into a world that doesn't express love the way that they do.
That's true.
That doesn't see love the way that they do. And what happens to them is that's why we have more suicides at 5 years old. People are wondering, why are these kids at 5 years old making a decision to die? Because they came in to bring love into the world, and some of the things that they've been met with, they're like, I don't want any parts of this.
Yeah.
But that's what they're here to do. And the ways that they're doing it is they're trying to get our attention. And so the violence against themselves, they love so deeply and so eternally. They're like, I want to go back where I'm really loved. This is my assignment. I don't want this one.
Yeah.
I don't want this. I want to bring love in the world. I want to experience love. And so they're very, very sensitive to the issues of love and how we treat one another. And you've seen these videos where they have little bitty kids walking up, hugging people, giving them flowers or showing them love.
Know. Yeah.
And
it just melts hearts.
It is. But that's the kind of vibration that they're here to bring.
Yeah.
And I love referring to my movie. And I'm an old movie head too. So there's a movie, if you guys remember, called Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. You probably don't remember this though. So it's called The Golden Child. Eddie Murphy is in this movie. He's a detective in this movie. So he's the finder of lost children. And so one of the children, and he doesn't care who it is. He doesn't care about race. He doesn't care about any of that. He cares about who's harming our children. Yeah. Right. And so he goes on this quest that he doesn't know he's on to help find this child. And they're telling him, the people who are protectors of the child or understand the gifts of the child. And in the movie, they talk about the different types of children that were brought into the world and how they were removed from the world. So they talked about justice being one of those children. And because that child was taken out of this world, we no longer have justice in the world.
I like how they did that.
Oh man, it's such a deep movie. You got to look deeper, than the humor part of it. Yeah. So, but it's if you have a chance to look at The Golden Child, it'll give you a little bit more insight when I'm talking about the Indigo Children and the Crystal Children. Okay. So that's another thing to know about this age that we're in, and why so many things are happening the way that they are. And so the next one that I want to talk about that I think is important, because everybody is in this mode of, okay, I want to change. I'm ready to change. I'm ready to change my mindset. I'm ready to change my attitude. I'm ready to change my circumstance. I'm ready to change my love life. I'm ready to change. And so the first step absolutely is awareness. It all starts with awareness, because we have to create it first. So we create those things in our minds and our imaginations before we can see them manifest. I love that you can look around anywhere you look. It was something that was somebody's thought first. We look at the mic right here. We look at the screens. We look at the technology. It was somebody's thought before it ever became something that somebody could use. So if you think of it like that and you keep that frame of mind, you can see how wonderfully amazing you are for having creative thoughts. And we are unlimited. There is unlimited potential in your thoughts and what you can create. That's how it starts. So it starts with the awareness. And you know what? I need to have water that I can take with me anywhere. If I had a bottle, maybe I could, I could put water in a bottle and take it with me, right? Or I could now go to the store, buy a case of waters, recycle my bottle, recycle my bottle, and carry my water in it. So it had to be somebody's idea first. And the beautiful thing about creation and co-creation is that it's being created in multiple places and multiple spaces for multiple people to tap in. You hear people all the time, that was my idea. I had that idea 5 years ago. Well, you didn't act on that idea, so other people got it because it needed to be birthed in the world.
So it's going to reach regardless.
It's going to happen. Are you going to be the steward of that idea being birthed into the world?
Wow, I never looked at it like that. I just looked at it like you said, kind of, you lose your feet. I mean, you lose your feet, so you lose your feet. So
right.
It's one of those things where I never looked at it like that, though.
Absolutely. It had to have an origin. I was driving on the highway, and it occurred to me that somebody had to create concrete. Somebody had to lay it down. Somebody had to paint the lines. Somebody had to shape that. And, we just take things for granted. We take things for granted that it's already there, but there's still an unlimited vat of ideas that are just waiting to be birthed. And a lot of our ideas come out of our need. Okay, so somewhere, if you live still in parts of Michigan or even Metro Detroit that have no paved roads and you're on dirt roads still, you're like, you know what? We need to have paved roads. Because this is tearing up my suspension on my car, like all of these things. But so somebody is pulling that idea to make sure that they now have paved roads or paved driveways and things like that. So it's constantly creating. And so we are constantly co-creators. We just don't know if we're the author of a particular creation idea. We won't know it until we produce it. Right. And so even the idea for this show, right, thanks to my producer, co-created.
Out here,
co-created. And so, it seems like such a small thing, but it's such a huge, incredible thing to participate in. This is how we participate in mankind and the elevation of mankind. This age of Aquarius, I'm going back to it. It is designed to help us increase our awareness, increase the gifts, the talents, and the abilities. That's right. And so it also is birthing the ideas to support it.
Yeah. Definitely. When COVID hit and happened, you saw a whole bunch of people go into the entrepreneurship realm. And I kind of think that exposed people to let them know, like, hey, you can do it. It is other ways to make money, outside of your typical 9 to 5. So that allows people to be more on their creative side of things. So,
do you know that after COVID, 600,000 people disappeared from the workforce? 600,000 people.
I can believe it.
Yeah. So they went to create.
Yeah.
Right?
They didn't
went
have
to create.
the time to do that before. And I think that's kind of a pattern that they kind of want to keep us in. It's no time because you're handling life. You don't have time to sit down, create, don't have to go to work, don't have to do this, don't have to do that. The world was shut down. So you had nothing but time to sit and think and create and, talk to other people, bounce ideas off, research. So
yes,
it created a whole, plethora
a whole
of
new
business.
Universe.
Yeah, literally. Everybody had to either figure out how to do it themselves or find somebody that could do hair, that could do nails, that, we couldn't go to those places. So it opened up a whole nother world.
It did. And so I want to talk you through the 5 steps of change. So I'm going to give you the steps first, and then I'm going to come back and talk about each one. The first one is information. The second is appreciation. The third is application. The fourth is transformation. And the fifth is elevation. So when we talk about we want to change, I want to change. I want to quit smoking, right? So the first thing you have to have is new information because you already have the old information. So what new can be added to your knowledge base that will help you to say, you know what? This is new. This is worth listening to. This is worth applying, right? So the first step is new information. And new information can come in a variety of ways. It could come in understanding that this is the age of Aquarius. These are my gifts that are online. I no longer want to pollute my body with cigarette smoke and nicotine and some of the other chemicals that are changing people and causing harm to our bodies. And it's not just my body. We've learned that maybe this will make a difference for somebody, right? We know now that secondhand smoke is as deadly as you smoking yourself. So you have your children around you. You have your grandchildren around you. You are smoking for them. You're smoking for them. And so maybe that's the thing. That new information made a difference. And now you're willing to quit. Right? Now I'm ready to quit because I'm affecting other people. It was different when it was just me. But now that I know I'm affecting other people, that new information is getting me to change. So new information is really, really important. The second one is now that I have new information, do I appreciate what I heard? Can I appreciate what I heard? Do I appreciate the source that shared it with me? Is it a credible source? Is it believable? And so if it's believable and credible, then your source is another step toward you applying the new information. Following your application, your appreciation is the application. So now the application says, what do I do now? So for some of us, we need new tools, new resources, new information to know what to apply. And so as we determine, like we talked about before, there are no coincidences. So those things that you need that resonate with you are now coming towards you. So you have to pull that information out. You have to discern it. It has to resonate with you. That helps you to compile this new application process. You know what to apply because now you started asking for it. So now it's showing up in your life. It's showing up on your path. It's showing up in your journey. It's showing up in your dreams. It's showing up in the movies that you're watching. It starts to show up. It's kind of like the algorithm, right? That's exactly what the universe delivers for us. It's those algorithms. It's a frequency and a vibration, but it's still the same type of thing that happens when you have algorithms. It is drawing those things that you had an interest in, that you are thinking about, that you're aware of, that are now coming towards you or in the space that you can pull that information down or touch whatever resources you need. So I think that's a really important next step is the application. And then beyond application, does it transform your life? Does it transform your way of thinking and your mindset? Does it transform your behavior? Have you and are you changing as a result of it? Once you see the transformation, and the transformation can come in many different ways. So we used the smoker earlier. Part of a transformation of a smoker is that they don't have the smoker's cough anymore. And I'm speaking because my dad actually was a smoker. So they lose that smoker's cough, right? That's one of the things that happens in terms of a transformed individual who now stopped smoking. You can see that money realized back in your pocket because cigarette smoking is an expensive habit. So you get the money back in your pocket because you're not buying them anymore, or not buying as many. That's another way that you can see a transformation happen. So these are all like signs that there is a change happening within you. Another thing is your eyes literally get clearer. So a lot of people who smoke may have the yellowing of the eyes or redness of the eyes. So when you start to see them stop in that habit, then those things start to change. Their eyes literally start to change, and they start to heal because they don't have the constant interference or aggravation from the cigarette smoke, right? So that's another way that you can see transformation happening. And typically when you have decided to change, you see the fruit of your transformation happening. And then the last step, or the last stage of change, is elevation. So elevation between transformation and elevation, there is a test. There is a test that says, are you truly over whatever old habit or behavior mindset you've used? So, and this works. I had a client that came to me with a desire to change the anger that she felt all the time, and to change her language because she used profanity a lot. And so over the course of our journey, the transformation now, when you hear her talk, she's super excited. The things that used to bother her or make her angry before no longer make her angry. And as she continues to grow, her gifts have started to sprout. I mean, she's extremely creative, but even with her creativity, how she's using her words to create her reality is even better. She's like, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a shop. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. And everything that she's been speaking has been manifesting. She's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I know that's the next step, though. That's what I need to do next. And she has done everything that she said that she was going to do. And so I think that's such a blessing, but it's such a witness to the transformation process. Now, the things that used to bother her to make her angry, some of those things are still happening. She's just choosing not to let it anger her anymore. Her words, she's choosing to use words that create life and not speak death over her because she has children and a family. So she doesn't think and speak that way anymore because now she's elevated beyond that thinking. She's elevated beyond that behavior, that reactive behavior, and she's elevated beyond that new mindset. That's when you start to get to that space. This is when you know you've gone through your complete transformation of change. That means what was in you before. We talk about the new man, right? We hear about that when you accept spirit or you expect God or Christ in your life, you're a new man, right? So it doesn't always show up like that. But what shows up is your behavior, how you speak, how you think, how you apply the lessons that you learn, right? You're a new being. And so being a new being, it starts to affect other areas of your life. It starts to elevate you. It starts to elevate your circumstances and your situation because now maybe more people want to be around you. They want you to be at events. So now you have this social calendar that is popping. It's lots of activity and things to do. Maybe now you have opportunity at work for advancement and they want to give you a raise because they want you to take this new position, and all of these other transformative things are happening that show that you have elevated, that show that you have matured beyond where you were, and that your actions are now supporting the person who you truly are and know yourself to be, and have removed all the things that fetter you, hold you back, tie you down. You've removed all of those thoughts, behaviors, and words, and the actions. So now you're at a different point. Now you're at a different place. And that's how you know that you've elevated and you're truly changed. So I know this has been a lot, but these are still things I want you to know. I have a few more left. The last one, or not the last one, the second for the last one is strongholds. And this is specifically, I'm speaking to women here. This is the message and the work that I was given at this point it's 20 years ago. These are the 5 things that have proven to hold us back. Hold us back from successful, loving relationships, hold us back from being the type of parent that we want to be, holding us back from the career pathways that we've chosen, holding us back for loving others and having others to love us. Is stuck in these 5 strongholds. And we are here until we heal through them. And because we've had not just our lifetime of these strongholds, but our mothers and our grandmothers, we're still healing their wounds in these 5 areas. So I really want you to know this, because I want you to start to not just own it, not just be aware, but let's take this transformational process of change to turn it over and create something beautiful from it. So we're going to look at these 5 strongholds, and let me rest assured that I have gone through and I am still working, because remember, it's not just your stuff. It's your mother, it's your grandmothers, and your maternal and paternal grandmothers. And so it's a process that we have to go through. But the more we recognize and we realize and we do the self-work to change it, we can break these strongholds. And so strongholds are areas in our lives that are deeply rooted, that affect all areas of our lives, our decision making, and it also affects others who are around us. They get impacted by our strongholds. So I'm going to give you the strongholds first. I hope you're writing this down. The 5 strongholds that women today we need to break these chains of the strongholds. The first one is control. The second one is pride. The third one is abandonment. The fourth one is rejection. And the 5th one is distraction. So I'm going to give them to you again. It's not a particular order, but I do want you to know them, because I need for you to recognize them when you see them in yourself and you see them in your daughters. The first one is control. Second one is pride. The third one is rejection. The fourth one is abandonment. And the 5th one is distraction. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit how they play out and how they played out in my journey. So I had an issue with control because I felt like, so this was early in my first marriage. You guys know I've been married 3 times. I got the 3rd one right, though. And trust me, I'm applying everything I just told you in my marriage, because I want a healthy and successful marriage. So that issue of control, I had to be the one to do certain things. And I could not release control over it, because I felt like I was the only one that could do it the way that I knew it should be done. And I know a lot of that came from my upbringing, because in my family, my mom was home mostly with us as kids for most of my life, and my dad worked. My mom handled all the household things. She paid the bills, she did the shopping, and so those were things that my dad really didn't have time to do it, because he was at work a lot. And so what I took control over was the finances and the things that needed to happen at home. So I was very particular. Once I got into a routine, I was very particular about that routine. So the bills had to be paid this way, and this day. So I had a harder time translating from paying, writing checks and all that to this whole new debit system that we're using, right? This whole electronic system. So it took me a while to release that mindset to be able to move into a more tech savvy world that we have. Some areas you were forced, but some things, I had a pager probably to the last pager company went out of business because I got used to using that system, and I was like, I'm fine. We don't have to do anything else. I don't want no cell phone. Why do I need a cell phone? Because they were phasing out pay phones. Yeah. So you couldn't find a phone anywhere, so you had to move to it. And I did it kicking and streaming.
Yeah.
I really did. So I needed to control that. But what I started to understand as I started to explore, why are you so entrenched in doing things this way? It was because that's what I knew and that's where I was comfortable. So things that made me uncomfortable made me more controlling. And so I had to realize that about myself because I was getting into it with my husband at the time. He's like, well, no, I need for us to do this. I need for us to do. I was like, no, I'm doing this. I've done this. This is how I do it. And, and that's that. Why are we arguing about this? This is what I do.
Yeah.
But I couldn't see beyond that. I couldn't see beyond. It was really just scary for me. Mm-hmm. I was afraid to make a mistake. I was afraid that if I did it this way, what does that mean for me? Am I setting myself up for risk? Am I putting my household in danger? I don't trust these systems. I don't trust using a card and everybody can see your card. And, all of those things were in my mind, but it was some of the same types of cautions that my mom had. It was also a situation that my grandmother had and that stuck in my head. It was my dad's mother, though, but it stuck in my head that my grandmother was a part of a scam. And so the man scammed my grandmother out of money because he was telling her that this is how everybody is doing it now. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, because she thought the person had authority, they lied and they actually wiped out my grandparents' bank account. And so after that, my grandfather didn't trust my grandmother with her money, with their family money. So she no longer, for the rest of their married life, he did not allow her to handle money at all. And so that lesson stuck in my head about making a grave error. That's where it was coming from for me. Yeah. But until I started to investigate deeper and understand more where that mindset, it was new information. Yeah. And so, but that allowed me to say, okay, I just have to have more understanding, have more information. I need somebody to explain this to me, and I need somebody I can ask these types of questions with to help me with my anxiety around releasing control, because I don't want to harm my family.
Right.
And so, and then I didn't want to shake up my routine but I mean, and we do that in other areas of our lives too. We do that in relationships. So if you don't get your way in a relationship, why are you holding so tight? And it may not be your stuff. So for me, with that, as I started to dig deeper from my history to my mom's history to my grandmother's history, I started to see where that was coming from. Mm-hmm. The fear, it was fear. It was a fear-based decision, and that was the root of my control. And so whenever I find myself in that space, now I start with the fear base. What are you afraid of? Why won't you do this? Or why won't you try this? Or why won't you let this go? Why does this make you feel a certain way? And I start to unpeel my onion. That's my onion, right? Unpack my baggage on it.
Yeah.
And so that's been really helpful. So that control issue for women is huge. And we run our men off all the time because we're holding so tight. Nobody can put the hand in to help hold you. If nobody can put that hand in to help hold you, how can they help? If they can't even hold you, they can't help you. So we have to be mindful. And then pride is another one. Pride, I can do it. Women turn down help all the time. Oh, no, I got it. A man can walk up and try to open the door for you. Nope, I got it. I can get my own door. Okay. But why not allow somebody to help lighten your load? It doesn't cost you anything. So we have to be mindful when we reject things, when we reject it because we don't want people to think that we're weak. We don't want people to think that we're needy. We don't want people to think that I need help. What's wrong with needing help? What's wrong with that? That's a question we have to start to continue to ask ourselves when we're confronted with that mindset and that behavior. Pride, there's lots of quotes about pride, right? Pride comes before the fall, right? So there are ways that we need to self-examine. Pride is another one that's a red flag. It's a red flag. If you know you need help and you don't ask for help, that's a red flag. You're suffering from pride, right? And so I want to get through the other couple because I had this one last thing I want to share with you, which I think is huge, major. Okay, so let's see. We got control and pride. Rejection and abandonment are really, really big, major issues within us as women, and why it's a part of a stronghold. So rejection and abandonment go hand in hand. So as I mentioned, I've been married more than one time. I pause. I've been married more than one time. So after my first marriage, though, I started experiencing the abandonment and rejection. And because I was experiencing those two simultaneously, it was kind of hard to figure out where my deeper grief was coming from my divorce. And once I started to peel back my onion and unpack my issues, I started to understand more about the fact that I was feeling rejected. So a little bit of that came back from my backstory. When I was younger, I was the middle of 7 kids. And so as the middle child, I always felt invisible. Like I always felt like I had to earn the right to be the child in this space. And when I was, before my younger siblings came, I was the youngest of my older group of siblings. And I was always felt invisible with them. And so, it was just, oh, well, you're just too little. And the too little thing was really hard. So it made me feel invisible as a child. So I was always trying to prove myself. I could prove I was a big kid. I could prove I could play. I could prove I was tough, all these kind of things. So I grew up with that mindset of trying to prove me. And when somebody didn't accept me, I felt rejected. And I felt that same little kid in me, the little girl in me, trying to figure out how can I show that I'm valued? How can I show that I'm here and I'm present? And so what I had to learn is I had to unlearn that behavior. I had to also recognize that the situation that I was in that prompted that was because you were the youngest of 4 and everybody was older than you. So they had different interests. Like I had to literally go back and unpack that. But until I did that, I still had issues of rejection in my life as an adult. I had to find the origin of those things and then put them in perspective, that the things that you think of as a child and experience as a child because you are a child. But when you carry those things over into adulthood without examining them, re-examining them, and saying the things no longer serve you, you're still thinking in that childhood mentality. And so I had to learn that, and that helped me start to uproot all of my rejection and abandonment issues. And then lastly, the distractions. The distractions come every day, all the time, especially if you're trying to do something for you to improve you. You have to put in that time and focus, and you have to allow the other things to say, this has to wait. We have to learn how to put things aside and say, this has to wait because I'm important right now. And so, and being able to navigate that with some wisdom, respect, love, and understanding is even more important, because you don't know when you're harming someone else by focusing on yourself. So you want to make sure that you use that wisdom as you're making that decision, but you must take care of you. You must take care of you. So I wanted you to know that those 5 strongholds are alive and well and are women today, and that we must overcome and break those strongholds. But it takes real work, just like change takes real work. But in this season, we are equipped with new tools, new gifts, new talents, new abilities, and new information to help us navigate. And then finally, the last thing I want to help you to understand, that I have a greater understanding of, is the power of our imagination. And it may seem like such a small thing. Like, okay, well, that's just wishful thinking. That's not what imagination is. Imagination is visioning. Imagination is co-creating. And I know we kind of started off this conversation with this, but I want to wrap it up because I want you to make sure that you recognize that you are a creator and you co-create in the process of your everyday life. Like, we are constantly creating the circumstances that we're facing by what we're thinking, what we're imagining, and then we add our other power centers to it, like prayer, like affirmations. And sometimes we're making affirmations when we're really not trying to, because of what you're saying and your inner dialogue. Your inner dialogue is part of that imagination process. What are you saying to yourself? Are you saying to yourself that you're loved? Are you saying to yourself that you're creative? Are you saying these things to you? Because that's what makes a difference. So I want to thank you for joining us today and having the conversation of what I want you to know. This is Dr. Heather Hederu. Tuning out. Stay clear.